The wind howled that night as Ethan stood at the edge of the cliff, staring down at the dark, turbulent sea. A single question echoed in his mind. Why am I here? It wasn't the first time he had asked himself that. In fact, it had become a nightly ritual. Every evening since the accident, he had wandered aimlessly, searching for something he couldn't name, something that felt both distant and essential. 2 months ago, his life had been ordinary. A small coastal town, a modest apartment, and a routine that gave him comfort, but not happiness. And then, the accident. His sister, Lily, had died in a car crash. A sudden, sharp, irrevocable twist that left him hollow. You have to move on, people said, but moving on felt like betrayal. How could he continue when she had stopped? That night, as the waves crashed below, he noticed a faint light in the distance, an old lighthouse that had been abandoned for decades. Something about it drew him. Without thinking, he walked toward it, the rocks under his feet slippery and treacherous. Inside, the lighthouse was cold and silent, the smell of salt and rust filling the air. He climbed the spiral staircase, each step creaking ominously. At the top, he found a small room with a single window overlooking the sea. And there, sitting in a worn armchair, was an old man. "Hello," the man said, his voice calm but carrying weight. "I've been expecting you." Ethan froze. "Expecting me?" "Yes," the man replied, smiling faintly. "People come here when they are lost. Some find themselves. Some never do." Ethan wanted to leave, but something in the man's eyes made him stay. "I don't understand," he whispered. "Why me?" "Because you're looking," the man said simply. "And looking is the first step." Over the next few hours, Ethan listened. The old man, who introduced himself as Thomas, spoke of life, loss, and courage. He told stories of storms faced, mistakes made, and the unexpected strength people discovered when they thought they had none. "Life," Thomas said, "doesn't wait for us to be ready. It forces us to confront ourselves. And sometimes the hardest battles are the ones within." Ethan felt a tightness in his chest, the familiar pang of grief, but also something new, a glimmer of understanding. He had been so consumed by his loss that he had stopped living. "Tell me," Thomas continued, "what do you fear the most?" Ethan hesitated. "That I'll forget her, that life will go on and I'll be left behind." Thomas nodded. "And what if you don't have to forget? What if you could carry her memory, not as a weight, but as a light?" The word struck him, carry her memory as light. For years, he had allowed grief to dim him, to keep him in shadows. Maybe it was time to turn that darkness into something illuminating. In the days that followed, Ethan returned to the lighthouse regularly. Thomas taught him how to face his fears, not by avoiding them, but by confronting them. Each session was challenging. They would sit in silence, listening to the waves or speak of painful memories, reliving them until they lost their sting. Ethan discovered the power of small victories. He learned to climb cliffs he had avoided, to speak to strangers he had shunned, and to feel joy in moments he had ignored. The town, which once seemed suffocating, began to feel like home again. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Ethan and Thomas sat atop the lighthouse. "You've changed," Thomas observed. "Do you feel it?" "I think I do," Ethan admitted. "But it's not just me. I feel her too, like she's guiding me." "That's because she is," Thomas said. "Love doesn't vanish with death. It transforms. And now it's your turn to transform too." Weeks passed. Ethan started helping others in the town, offering support to those struggling with loss, fear, or uncertainty. His own grief became a bridge, connecting him to others, teaching him empathy in its truest form. Then came the storm, the kind that makes the sea roar like a living beast. A ship was caught near the cliffs, tossed by monstrous waves. Without hesitation, Ethan climbed the lighthouse, signaling with lights and shouting instructions to the rescue team. His heart pounded, but his hands were steady. Every lesson from Thomas echoed in him. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action in spite of it. After the rescue, the town celebrated, but Ethan didn't seek praise. He realized that his purpose wasn't recognition. It was living fully, embracing both pain and joy, and helping others do the same. On the quiet nights, he would still visit the lighthouse, but Thomas was no longer there. Instead, Ethan sat alone, watching the sea, feeling her presence beside him, not as a haunting memory, but as a guiding star. One night, as he gazed at the horizon, he whispered, "I understand now. Life isn't about avoiding the storm, it's about learning to navigate it." And in that moment, the lighthouse wasn't just a building. It was a symbol of resilience, hope, and the enduring power of love. Ethan had faced his fear, embraced his grief, and discovered something profound, that even in the depths of loss, one can find light. From that day on, he became the keeper, not just of the lighthouse, but of a lesson he would share with anyone willing to listen. The darkness is never permanent. It's the light we carry within that guides us home.